Hi there everyone, we're in the Royal Society reading room, or the Rare Materials room if you want to sound a bit more posh. This video is going to be very cool, and I mean that literally because it's about Antarctica. Now when it comes to Antarctica, perhaps one of the most famous names is Scott. Robert F. Scott?
Yep, Scott of the Antarctic, it's almost named after him.
So Scott's ill-fated mission on the Terra Nova where he died, we're not talking about that one, we're talking about his somewhat happier,
more successful.
His more successful, happier one, which came earlier, 1901 to 1904, on the Discovery.
Yeah.
And we have some amazing papers and photos from that, and that's what we're going to show you right here. First of all, let's just quickly look at these papers. Keith, these are Scott's actual letters that he wrote in his own hand.
They're his reports. So you can see this is from January 1902. It's aboard the Discovery. And this is Scott telling the presidents of the Royal Society and the Royal Geographical Society what's happening there. So it's really a blow-by-blow account of what they've been up to on the expedition.
I mean, there are pages and pages of these letters. Here we go. Here it is signed here at the end.
Yeah.
Robert F. Scott, Captain. But perhaps even more exciting, to me anyway, because I'm a bit strange like that, is this. I'm speculating that might be his thumbprint.
Yeah, well, if he managed to get it in the ink as he was writing, that could easily be.
Being a visual medium, how about we have a look at some pictures? Keith, we have books and books of these photos. There are so many, we can't possibly show all of them, but...
Yeah, there are 6 rather wonderful presentation albums from the expedition given to the Royal Society, and they contain photographs of all periods and points during the expedition, and some of them are very beautiful indeed.
The first one we come across is a...
It's a dead albatross.
It's a dead albatross.
It's not a good starting point. We know that story too well, don't we?
I mean, this was research.
Collecting zoological specimens, of course, so that's what you find there. But also doing magnetic observations on the ice and the conditions there.
Here's another animal that seems to have died of natural causes, hopefully.
Not terribly natural by the look of it, no.
Look at these penguin pictures. This collection must be quite precious to the Society, Keith.
It is, yes. It's a rather wonderful thing, very valuable, of course. But, here we go. Here's a balloon.
The caption says, balloon being deflated. We have an explosion. It says here, Winter Harbour, breaking bay ice with 16¼ something charge of gun cotton. I have experience with gun cotton, that is.
Yeah, that's pretty explosive, yeah.
It's quite explosive, yeah. Ship frozen in for wintering observation.
So this is Observation Hill, which is a landmark you can see behind.
Oh, okay. A whole bunch of sleeping penguins there, I imagine?
Yes, you could put it that way.
Yeah. This is nice. This is sort of seeing the people who were there. Some people in fancy dress.
So it's a theatrical troupe, so they're putting on performances to entertain each other. And you can see here where they've heaped up a ramp of ice right on the side of the ship, so I think they can get material on and off very easily.
And here's something a bit fancy at the back here. They have a folding out panorama. And as you move along, you see the huts, you see the ship frozen in the ice. Superb. And there is album after album, Keith. It never ends.
It's a wonderful picture of a penguin there with a young.
Oh, that's cute.
So that's an emperor penguin. Prints of these are quite sought after. I mean, the photographer Ponting is very well known. You know, when you think about the difficulties of taking photographs in these kinds of conditions, because very, very cold, of course, photographic emulsions are relatively new. Very difficult to develop these things out in situ. So they were learning as they were going, but they're very beautiful. I mean, they did so well.
It's certainly an environment that lends itself well to black and white photography as well.
It really does, doesn't it? It's quite dramatic. So we have the 2 main ships here. So we've got Discovery and Terra Nova.
Oh, Terra Nova, destined for the later doomed mission. We have the man himself here.
Yep, what we haven't seen so far is a photograph of Captain Scott, but there he is on his skis, looking suitably heroic, I think.
Yeah. Oh, look, Mount Erebus, very famous mountain in Antarctica. We will show you one last thing that we walked past in the Royal Society. Very special if you like Antarctica. Come over here. We have a map, a 3-dimensional map of Adelaide, Australia here, which to me is the most important part of the map. But looking at the bigger picture, you could argue, Keith, this is actually a map of Antarctica.
You missed out New Zealand along the way.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about New Zealand. This is sort of a 3-dimensional map of Antarctica from 1961.
Yeah, so this is an American map, as you can see here. This is a relief model and put out by the US Navy and used in connection with the Royal Society's later expeditions to Antarctica. They had a base at Halley Bay in the 1950s, and this gives you an immediate relief of what the continent looked like at that time.
There's the South Pole there right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look around the edges, we see South America, we've got the bottom of Africa, New Zealand is here, and of course Australia. There's Tasmania, and as we mentioned earlier, the great city of Adelaide. But really Antarctica is the star of the show, of course.
But it is very much how it looked in the early 60s. And of course it would look very different now because of the amount of ice melting.
So if you find Antarctica as fascinating as I do and you want to see some modern videos there, we've got them on my physics channel called 60 Symbols. A friend of mine recently went there and did some science at the South Pole and took some cameras with him. We've got loads of great footage. There'll be links on the screen and in the video description, so why not check them out?
There's actually a big cross that marks the top of the hill, and the cross essentially commemorates the sad journey of Sir Robert Falcon Scott, who reached the South Pole a month after Roald Amundsen and unfortunately didn't make it back.